Hi, Minesh Baxi here, and today we have an interesting concept about because most people have gone through, if you are old enough to know, a lot of changes in the last 10 to 15 years in the real estate market and so on and so forth. And some people weren't really prepared. In fact, a lot of people weren't prepared. And we have Sean Meier here who is going to be teaching us and sharing with us about what happened in his life and how he has learned some lessons, and maybe you can prepare for your own future as well. So, Sean, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Minesh.
Very good. So, obviously, people want to know a little bit about you. So, tell us where you live, what you do, just in general.
Well, pretty much, I'm a jack of all trades, per se, in the sales field. I started in real estate pretty young, at the age of 20. And then, as the economies changed and stuff like that, because I was 20 back in 2005. So, we're talking about
Not too long ago then.
Yeah. But, the market crashed, 2008 and stuff like that. So I had some good success from 2005. Then fast forward 3 years, stuff started getting a little bit crazy. Now I started to explore other options as far as sales, and it's been a roller coaster, some more highs and lows, but that's why I'm here talking to you, so we can talk about everything and
Sure, absolutely.
give the audience some pointers.
Some
and
pointers.
Also experience, because I have a backing in finance just as much as you do. I know you do financial services as well. So we definitely can bump heads and definitely brainstorm and get some good ideas out to the people.
Well, I think that's the key part. In my case, I learned some lessons, and the lesson was very simple. I was not doing the basics. I mean, some of these things that you and I talk about in general, they just make common sense. For example, in my case, as in, being in exercise, right? You should eat right, exercise regularly. Regarding money, make sure you are putting money away for the future and all these kind of things. And somehow, sometimes we get caught up either not paying attention, or we just have not learned a few lessons in our own life, and we end up making mistakes. And I think that's what happens to all of us. So in your journey, tell me a little bit, first of all, what is your biggest passion right now? What are you very passionate about?
My biggest passion right now is really just showing people financial freedom, per se, of thinking outside the box. Because, a lot of people today, unfortunately, with the world we live in, everybody is basically turning into zombies via reality TV, social media, and stuff like that. So a lot of critical thinking is starting to be lost, and a lot of people are seeing what they see on TV or social media as the real world, when it's actually not. It's all scripted, and some of that is leading to actual people aspiring to do business that way, which is a road for disaster in the real world instead of in front of a camera or a smartphone.
Yeah, I know it's interesting that people don't have that sense at all. Now, in your case, you call it Plan B as the key way for people to start looking at life. And let me talk a little bit about first with you when people say financial freedom. I think people talk a lot about these words, and most people don't even know what that really means. Because I think people have gotten into, maybe they watch some of these shows, they watch the big yards and everything else, and they don't really understand. And I believe strongly that you should always have some awareness, fundamentals, and so on and so forth. Now, you work with entrepreneurs, you work with other people, real estate as well.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what is your concept of financial freedom, and then tell us a little bit about a couple of strategies that you feel people should look into.
Well, the first strategy is basically least debt as possible.
Least. Now, I hope people heard that very clearly. So everybody's trying to sell you something on debt. So think twice before you go into debt. If it's not a manageable debt or not a required debt, don't go into debt. So good point there.
Yeah, because my philosophy, the only debt you probably should consider is you're purchasing your home.
Correct.
Cars, or the craziness today of people actually financing a smartphone.
Which is normal, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's the main thing. Least debt as possible. Live frugal. Because I attest to that. So people know me, I'm pretty frugal, and everything I do is paid for by cash. So
cash is a king, right? And I think people need to understand that regardless, like some people say, okay, there might be a crash coming up again. Well, what is the best resort to it, not being in debt. Like a lot of
Absolutely.
people, because of 2007 and 8, I mean, you know the characteristics, they were in debt for a lot more stuff than they could handle.
Yeah.
And when the market took a downturn, they weren't prepared to handle their own requirements, responsibilities as that happened. So
Yes.
the first part is very good. Get out of debt. I agree with you on that. That's a good one.
Yeah, especially back then, the key word adjustable rate mortgages, which
Yes.
doomed a lot of people, especially here in Michigan.
Yes. I think they made a lot of mistakes in that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
So
we're gonna teach them today.
yeah. Okay. Good. What else do you want
You
to
read
tell?
on the dotted line. So when we
Yes.
go to see your loan officer, read on the dotted line.
Okay, good point. So go ahead and keep talking, because I want to make sure that you are able to share more ideas about what you feel are good things for people to do today, or prevent themselves being in a problem situation.
Yeah, because that was the main thing. Limit debt as possible, and then finding additional streams of income. Because the way I do my business is basically, since I started in real estate, it was basically find other options that kind of go hand in hand type of thing. So if somebody needed a car, I start selling cars because it's just so many options available when you do real estate. Because every other faction, it goes hand in hand. Car in the house, furniture, which recently I started dealing with furniture because since 2015 I ran into a gentleman out in Southfield, and then I became a furniture broker and also a private shareholder. And I
Interesting.
deal furniture and Perfect Dreamer sleep shops. So right now we're basically expanding the network and trying to find entrepreneurs that want to think outside the box and open a furniture store, because we have the access to inventory of warehouses where you could beat the major brick and mortar retailers as far as pricing. I'm not going to give the
Yeah.
major brick and mortar retailers a shout out on here per se. It's free,
I know.
free advertising, but
Yeah.
if you're in Metro Detroit, you know the major
You know, we are
retailers.
talking about, yes, there are a lot of companies, which a lot of people who know the names and so on and so forth. So in your opinion, if you were to look down the road for yourself, where would you like to see yourself 2, 5 years down the road? What does that look like?
Well, there's a couple of ways. The first way, I have a few opportunities available to me as far as with the youth, like coaching and consulting, like financial services. So I'm trying to implement that in a few school systems. So I've been reaching out to a few principals in different school systems and try to set up a little entrepreneur program, especially with like one way is real estate, another one is entrepreneurship through like the furniture business and stuff like that. Because it's a lot of opportunities that people don't know about, especially with furniture, especially the margins. Same thing as like with car makers. If you really get deep down to it, the margins, that it's a lot of money to be made. It's just as long as you know what's available to you. And I know it doesn't sound too cool. Anything sell wholesale furniture, but it's some great money to be made and a lot
Well,
of great opportunities.
yeah. So I think most of us assume that just because it sounds really fun, interesting, exciting, or whatever it is, you end up having that should be the place to go. But really, at the end of the day, you and I should be looking at one simple thing if you are in business. And I think the way I like to say that, and I've heard people talk about it, is you need to win the money game, right?
Absolutely.
So when you are that, I mean, money consumes most of your life, right? You work 8 hours a day, you drive, you eat, and all that kind of stuff. So if you and I have, and again, people know about Robert Kiyosaki, maybe you've heard of Robert Kiyosaki's books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, and these are great books to read just because it gives you the fundamental of understanding that there are a number of ways to make money, and you and I need to focus on what we can actually do to improve our choices.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, also with books, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people take books like for law and then try to follow it step by step, and really they shouldn't do that. If they have read a book, a lot of books is just a general step by step way to do it, but you got to find your own niche to per se implement the plans of financial freedom. A lot is, I done read several books, but the main thing is finding your own niche, and because everybody's life is different as far as resources and stuff like that. Because when I first started per se in real estate, I read a few books and I tried to implement them exact strategies, and it was
It was a disaster.
disaster. Say, because they was basically basing more off of the California market, and you trying to implement strategies for a California real estate market compared to when you right here in Metro Detroit, Michigan. it just didn't work.
Wow, very interesting. And I think what I believe strongly is to find a mentor.
Absolutely.
To me, I think the schools and colleges are doing a disservice, in my opinion, because they are not giving the basic concept. Like in old ancient times, you used to have mentors, and those mentors will guide you, teach you. They would have personal stake in your success, and they would be mentors for a while, not just for a day or a week or a month, a semester, right? And what ends up happening is you find people who have the results you want, who have helped other people achieve those kind of results, and then you are able to duplicate the same process. And I think most people don't understand that, and that's why they go to books, seminars, etc., instead of finding a mentor.
Yeah.
Go ahead. And do you want to share something about that, Sean?
Yeah, because it leads back to what we were saying earlier about how people are being misled through social media. Because a lot of these new gurus, that's the main avenue right now, is advertising through social media and stuff like that. So
Yes.
it's just because on general, usually, like through how we met through LinkedIn and stuff like that,
Correct.
on occasions I get a few younger people that ask for like consulting or mentorship services, which I happily do for free since they're so young and they're interested in something that I actually do. I'm actually honored that people contact me through Facebook or LinkedIn for pointers and stuff like that, because I do offer consulting services, but usually for the younger people, I don't charge. It's just free. What do you want to call it in the young world?
Pro bono.
Free game.
Free game, right? Free
Yeah.
game and stuff like that. So what do you see coming up in the next few years? Do you feel people should be prepared for? I know we talked about a couple of things already, but anything that you feel would be important or valuable for people to learn or at least be prepared from?
Well, everybody should at least learn the process of real estate. Like I tell certain people, go to take a real estate class, or there's other opportunities as far as learning loans or underwriting and stuff like that, because it's basically, history is about to repeat itself in my eyes, because the way the market is, especially in Detroit, the Metro Detroit area, that the values are being somewhat per se manipulated by certain powers that be, that hold a major stake in majority of the real estate that's actually being manipulated in value, is going to actually crumble sooner or later. So really, it's supposed to be a seller's market. So you're supposed to be selling instead of buying right now.
Interesting. So there is a correction possibly coming, and most people talk about, and corrections do take time, and they are quite often as well. And the reason they are often enough is that not every week, every month, every year, but they are often enough because people value a certain product, then the product prices in their perception go up, but the reality sometimes is somewhere in the middle of where it should be, and then there is a correction, then it goes back up, and so on and so forth. It's just that if people put too much emotion and don't really focus on the reality of the facts, like if you say, hey, I want to invest in Apple, and again, Apple is a great company, but you don't understand how to review their numbers, then you are investing in Apple based on hype instead of solid numbers. And I think that's what you're talking about, is get the education that is required before you go make such decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's real estate, other sales endeavors, or just any career path you want to take, you definitely got to study it up, the good and the bad. Well, everybody has a library in the palm of their hand, basically a smartphone, and
Yes.
most people don't use it. I say for nonsense.
They use nonsense. Yeah,
So
I
you
was
got a free
downloading.
library in your hand.
Yeah, I know. I did download a couple of books yesterday because I'm coaching some people, some business owners, and so on. So if somebody wants to get hold of you, how would they get hold of you, Sean? And what are some of the things that you can help them, so you can at least give them some awareness on that?
Well, basically, I'm available on different platforms, the major platforms. On Facebook, you could type in CH Funding Enterprises. Twitter is CH Funding Sean. And then LinkedIn, which is the most powerful tool I use, is basically, we could type in CH Funding Enterprises or Sean, S-E-A-N, Meier, M-E-I-E-R, dash CH Funding Enterprises. And then via phone, it's got my phone number. Or,
It's up to you if you want people to call you.
It rings by scam likely anyway, so 734-735-6722. or you can reach me by email, sean@chfundingenterprises.com. And pretty much we offer real estate services. As mentioned, we do everything. We also offer private money and hard money for real estate investors. And under the umbrella of CH Fund Enterprises, we also offer security systems. So
you're a man with a lot of different abilities to find ways to make money, and I think that's really the key part of being entrepreneurial is, like you said, not one but enough of these ways so that you end up being in a much stronger financial base and foundation for yourself.
yeah, because a dead pipeline in 2008 when banks start killing deals and stuff like that, so I had to expand, and it led to that security systems, furniture, which we just talked about, and then also for other business owners, we also offer merchant services. We're saving money on credit card processing, or if they need ATM machines, the whole 9 yards, and also business cash advances. So
Interesting.
So once you go to the social media handles I mentioned, you'll see everything offered for regular business owner to the regular homeowner. I got something that you probably could use.
Well, good for you. I appreciate you taking the time today, and I'm looking forward to continuing our relationship and being able to leverage our connections, our resources to help people, to help the community as well. So thanks, Sean, for coming. I really appreciate it. Have a great day, folks.
Thanks for having me, Minesh.